Okay, I want to talk about relationships and my not only romantically but also with peers, with your family, and Loki, you can kind of apply these tips on a general level to any social interaction that you have. And I kind of picked up on them along my life, and I don't know, I feel like they're like kind of universal truths that people just have to accept. You could debate about some of them, but the first thing that I picked up from from my mom was that love and feelings is not enough in order to sustain a relationship. And the reason for that is because she turned a big blind eye on a lot of the disrespect, a lot of being taken for granted from my father through so many years, and that only caused issues later in her life. Like, this is someone you're going to be with the rest of your life, and if you can't communicate properly, if there's a disconnect, if you can't have meaningful connections, new experiences with someone. And a lot of people, when they get into these serious relationships, they kind of settle, they stop kind of experiencing more, they kind of have the expectation like, that's it, like that's just enough, and they kind of just stop trying for each other. But the point is that I see this with a lot of young girls also, where they just turn a blind eye on so much of the shit that the other person's doing, just in the name of love, just thinking that it's going to pass by. And some of them justify it with daddy issues, saying that they have to have this I guess toxicity, they have to have someone to fill in that missing figure that they didn't have when they were younger. And then that means that they can handle the toxicity of the relationship, and that they can handle the disrespect that the other person's having. But turning a blind eye on what the other person's doing, and turning a blind eye on especially yourself, because you're aware of what's happening. A lot of these times, a lot of the different girls, and my mom, she said that she was so aware of what was happening, but she wanted to fight for it. Like, the idea that we get when we were younger is that you have to fight for love. But fighting for love is not taking into disrespect. Fighting for love is learning to communicate properly. It's learning to respect someone. It's learning to fight for something. It's learning to push yourself out of your boundaries, not settling for the shit that someone is giving you. And yeah, the same concept that I've stated in my previous videos on an individual basis, where your feelings are going to fluctuate on a daily basis. So sometimes you just have to be objective. And I'm aware it's easier said than done. I'm aware that saying this is so much easier than girls actually leaving someone. But it's not supposed to be easy. That's why a lot of girls stay in these toxic relationships. But I'm telling you, I've had also scenarios where girls do get out of them, and it's the point of the thing is that it's completely possible. Now, a big thing is that your actions, not yours, also yours to be honest, but actions and behaviors, they don't lie. And what I mean by this is that instead of analyzing what someone is saying, analyze how they behave towards you, analyze how they act towards you. And this could go into really sketchy territory where you start overthinking a lot, when in fact sometimes you just also have to just take a chill pill. So this advice is like really depending on the type of person that you are. But yeah, overthinking and driving yourself crazy about what the other person's doing never really works. Sometimes, which is also another big thing, is that you have to focus. Sometimes you just have to realize that you're still your own identity, and that other person is still their own identity. And you cannot have these expectations for the other person to sacrifice a lot of what they were doing. And that's another thing, is that I noticed that as people settle into their roles, as for example, going to a more serious relationship or going into marriage, they kind of give up these aspects of their own identity, where someone just stops doing the hobbies that they like. So, and because in the name of family time, and that's important, yeah, but I think we cannot neglect ourselves, and we cannot neglect our own time and the things that we just enjoy doing in the name of, oh, it's for the family, oh, it's for the kids, it's for the wife. Yes, I'm not saying that's bad, but I'm just saying that you should have your own identity. Okay, I went a little off topic there, but as I was saying, behaviors and actions, they don't lie. And you can tell the way someone is from an initial interaction with someone. And the same way people say that you can't judge a book by its cover, I personally believe that you can. There's a lot of things we can pick up on. Of course, we can't make certified 100% truths about someone based on them, but you can kind of have implicit meanings on the way they present themselves and the way they talk and the conversations, that the topics that they talk about, these little things that we can pick up on, and then even on a subconscious level, we decide if we want to continue something with them, or we decide if we don't. So in general, you can see the kind of person that they are from the start of the relationships. And I have a friend, and she constantly gets herself into situationships with men who are so toxic, are generally so toxic from the start position. And then of course you cannot, like, what are you expecting? Of course it's going to get worse. Of course it's going to get worse, because you continue yourself to get disrespected, and you show the other person that you're okay with this. You're okay with handling this kind of disrespect. Wait, the ambulance. And then when the relationship, and then when something extraordinary happens within the relationship, like someone cheats, you're like, damn, like, how did I just not see that one coming? Like, how, like, constantly blaming the other person and being like, yeah, like, he's the problem, he's the issue. And okay, he might be the issue, but maybe look in the mirror and sometimes ask yourself, what could I have done to prevent this? Could I have just perhaps ended the relationship before this even progressed into what it resulted into? Perhaps I could have just set boundaries from the initial point. Perhaps I should be a little better at choosing the kind of people I want to surround myself with. And a lot of the times we constantly try to blame other people, but these things that happen in our lives are just the result of inner conflicts that we have not solved within ourselves. So yeah, a lot of the times I'd say that you just have to take a step back and understand, what are you doing in your life? What is something that you can control? And okay, like, I recently watched like a documentary about this psychologist who was talking about free will. I think his name was Robert Patanska. But he has like a massive beard, and he just talked about free will and how we're constantly changing and evolving depending on the situation, depending on our environment, the situations that we're pulled in, the people that we are around, even the fundamental beliefs that we were given when we were younger. So then it kind of brings the question of free will and the decisions and actions that you make. But another thing that I've noticed is that I've been living alone for a little over a year, and I've noticed that having time apart from people and having time for yourself, and this kind of links with the identity part, where it's important to have your own opinions and your own identity and your own, what you like doing, what you don't like doing. But the point is that having time apart from people, either from relationships or family or peers, is so important. I feel like it's like a curve where, okay, initially you spend time with them, it's always uphill, and then after a certain time limit, it gets into a downhill territory where you just kind of just need your own space. And for everyone, their limit is different, but there's nothing wrong with needing your own time. There's nothing wrong with wanting to just be by yourself sometimes. Like, this expectation that just because we're in a relationship with someone, we have to be always with them. In my opinion, even having that time apart is kind of healthy. Like, when I started living by myself, I started appreciating my mom more. I started having, I don't even remember the last time I had an argument with her, if I'm being honest. And when I was living with her, and maybe it was because I was young, but I'm not gonna label that as an excuse. I think I was still at a certain age where I could think for myself. But yeah, I think having time apart is in fact really healthy. So maybe dedicating it and being specific about it, and not having the expectation, like, again, I'm gonna go into expectations after this, but maybe not having the expectation where just because you're official with someone, you have to be continuously with them. No. In fact, sometimes you just should not. But with expectations, like I said, it links with the point where you just have to take a step back and look at yourself, where we constantly have expectations for how other people should behave and what other people should do to them, he has to buy me flowers. But maybe, like I said, maybe we should have more expectations for ourselves and how we should behave, because it's obviously way, way easier to just put it on the other person the same way people don't ask, like the same way it links to my other videos where we just don't ask ourselves a lot of these hard questions about ourselves. And it's easier. Like, you've heard the quote, ignorance is bliss. So and we as people, we don't like to be uncomfortable. So to pinpoint all the problems on the other person and take off the responsibility from ourselves means that we don't have to question ourselves. And when we start questioning ourselves, it kind of either gives you the option to change and do something about it, or just feel like shit about yourself and continue doing what it is you're doing. Okay, I'm gonna start ending the video, but I'm gonna summarize and just say that you can tell a lot about a person from their initial interactions, and sometimes it requires you to be objective in order to realize if you want to continue something with them or not. And especially if someone is toxic and they show a lot of red flags initially, then it just requires you to be hard on yourself. And that also links with a point that you have to ask yourself, are there inner conflicts that I have not solved upon with myself that I'm just translating onto other people and making it their issue? But I want to say that I'm no relationship expert, and I'm probably going to be finding out a lot more things, not only about myself but about also other people and things like that, just coming to a lot of, like, I guess, realizations in the future. So these are just some of the things that I picked up right now, and if there are things that you guys would want to speak about, or your own personal experiences about where you've noticed where you feel like you've let a lot of things slide. Oh, there is one thing though. I do want to state right now that it's still worth fighting for, and there's still other things that you can implement, and that just because someone's being just because someone's like giving you a wrong edge, like initially, you are not obviously you're not going to end the relationship. The point that I was saying is that there's other ways you can fight for the relationship, but settling is not one of them. So I'm going to end it on this note, and yeah, hopefully you guys learned something.